What's up, Crew Excellence? It's your favorite host, and I'm back with another episode of The Ladder. Woo! Today gonna be a fire episode. I'm super excited. I've been waiting to come in here and talk about this. We gotta talk about Diddy. All right, it's out there. It's in the news. We gotta talk about Diddy. And like I said, this ain't a gossip blog. So if you want to know all the stuff he done did and all the lawsuits, you gotta get on TikTok. That's not what we're here for. All right, we're gonna talk about Diddy and what he exposes about abusive power and leadership. Okay, because I think this is a very real thing that happens, and usually, especially in our culture, when we're talking about abuse of power and leadership, we almost always are talking about pastors. Black people love to talk about pastors abusing power and leadership. But here's another instance of that, and I think it's really great for us to peel the curtain back on how leadership gets us to this point. This is the thing about the Diddy stuff, that he's not the only person affected. There are tons of people that were underneath him in either a professional or a personal way that are feeling the fallout from all of the things that are being alleged at this point about Diddy and his affair. And so when we talk about abusive power, there are really 3 flags that I want us to look for so that we know if we're in a relationship with a leader that is abusing power. There's 3 things, and we're going to get to those. First, I want to talk about what is abusive power. So what that looks like is there's someone in leadership with power and influence, and what they're using that power and influence for is to manipulate and to organize and orchestrate different things, people, events, so that they can reap benefit, okay? And so why we say is abuse of power is, and not just leadership, we're not just talking about people who are tough leaders or do tough love. We're talking about people who take their power and their influence and they wield it in a way that hurts and harms other people. So that's why it's an abuse of power. We're talking about leaders who harm others through their leadership style. And I'm not talking about offend people, because I might say some things that are offensive because I love the Lord. And so there are some things that I believe that I will say and not blink an eye, not be afraid to say, and not be afraid to offend someone. But my leadership won't harm anyone. No one will be hurt because of the things that I'm doing or saying. Okay, and there's a difference. So I want people to understand that. There's a difference between being offended and being hurt or harmed. Now, we like to, in this day of age, because we're soft as Medicaid cotton, conflate the two. We like to act like they're the same thing. They are not. Okay? They are not. Being offended is way different than being harmed. And I just want y'all to understand that so that when we get into this, you see the difference, okay? Because some of you are offended by someone's leadership, and that is not ideal, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're being abused by a leader, okay? A leader might offend you because he asked you why you wasn't on time on Tuesday. Because some of y'all are sensitive. You supposed to be at work at 8 o'clock. You got there at 8:15. It's okay for him to ask you where you was at. Okay? Just because you become offended don't mean, I was listening to the podcast and Justin said that you was abusing me. But no, that's not what I'm talking about, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. Don't use me to be a crutch for you so you ain't got to show up to work on time. I'm not talking about that, okay? We're talking about real leadership abuse. So the first thing that is a red flag for abusive power, and this segues perfectly, is controlling time. And this is what I mean by that. Is when a leader is constantly trying to tell you what to do, when to do, how to do all the time, right? Both when you're around them and when you're not, you are in an abusive relationship. And the leader is leading in a way that is abusive. Because as humans, we are not, I talked about this on the burnout episode. We are not only made to work. We are made to do a lot of other things. We are made to socialize. We are made to experience the world. We are made to sit at home and rest. All of those things are a part of our genetic makeup. We are designed to do those things. And if there is a leader who is intentionally stepping in the way of that, habitually. I'm not saying he asked you to work late a couple times, or if you're at a place that has mandatory overtime. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is you're supposed to be off, and a leader keeps calling you, and it's your off day. And are you tell them, are you plan to take off and you have vacation, and they're like, nope, you can't take vacation. And you like, why? Because I said so. Right? Or they're giving you projects constantly that take more than the time you have to work, and expecting you to finish them in a time that is impossible if you only work at work. So these are the things. Or if you're in a parental or familial relationship and they're constantly asking, where you at? Who you with? Where you at? Who you with? That's mom. I'm going to excuse parents, because parents, that's okay. Parents need to know where you are, children. So, but if this is your boyfriend or girlfriend, your spouse, or this is someone who is a friend, because sometimes friends can lead in this way and be abusive, and they're just constantly trying to take up all of your time and not give you space or give you an opportunity to experience some of these other things, that can be an abuse of power. And the reason I say that, and I think it applies to Diddy, is if you read the allegations against him, all of this stuff is alleged. Okay, you can't sue me. All right, it's alleged. But if you read the allegations, a lot of the stuff that he is being accused of is where he was basically, once you became a part of his crew, he was in complete control of your time. He told you where to be, when to be, who to be with, and he was just in control of all of it. And so a lot of times these people, they would want to be a part of that because Diddy was popping, right? He's a billionaire. Like, I want to be a part of this. And then once they get a part of it, they can't get out because he's in control of everything. And so that is, and the first red flag is if a leader is controlling your time. That is a red flag that you are being abused by leadership. Second one is if they're controlling credit or placing blame. And what I mean by that is when you're in an organization, you're on a team, you're in a family, and you have talents and traits about you that God has gifted you with. There are things that you can do that no one else on earth in human history can do because God designed you uniquely. And if you're around a leader who takes those unique talents and abilities, uses them, but then takes all the credit, or when things go wrong in the organization with their crew, they place all the blame, that is an abuse of power. Because real leadership is the opposite. Excellent leaders take less credit than they deserve and more blame than they should. That's what excellent leaders do. So the flip side of that, though, is leaders who abuse power take more credit than they deserve and take less blame than they should. And so if you're in a situation where a leader is constantly taking credit for your work, then you're probably in an abusive situation as far as leadership is concerned. And so, say, for example, you do a project and your leader presents it to the company or presents it to the world with the ideal that they're the ones who did it. Well, that is abusive because what they're doing is taking credit for something they didn't do. Now, don't get me wrong, leaders. Part of our job is to corral talents and abilities and produce products and works. But what excellent leader looks like is, hey, I want to give a huge shout out to my team who was able to make this thing possible, so and so. And so that's what excellent leadership looks like. Abusive leadership looks like, hey, look what I did. And everybody in the back like, wait a minute. Nope, you don't need no credit. Shut up. I gave you some money. That's an abusive relationship. And then when something bad happens, then they're like, hey, no, that was him. That was her. That was them. That wasn't me. Don't look at me. That was them. If you read the allegations, there's a lot of that Diddy was doing. Diddy was taking a lot of credit for stuff. If you listen to some of his artists, if you listen to some of his former coworkers, his peers, they'll tell you like, nope, that wasn't even him. But he took, like they were saying these things. This is public information. And then the flip side, we know for a fact there's people who have done jail time, like real life prison time, for things that he did. And they took the blame. Like, that ain't even part of the allegation. Those are facts. Like, these are people that have spoken out and said these things. So the ideal that we would stay in that situation, I'm telling you, you don't have to. You don't have to. And the reason that people end up in these abusive leadership relationships long term is they don't realize that they can get out. There are other ways to be successful. There are other ways to get into industries. There are other ways to find a platform or to gain influence than of being in a situation where a leader is abusing their power. Because ultimately, you are not going to reap the benefits that you think you are. Like ultimately, because one, you're going to end up so traumatized that by the time you reach any pinnacle of success, you're not going to be able to enjoy it because you got to spend all your money on therapy. Okay? And so that's the first thing. The second thing is you're never going to reach as high as you can because you never get the credit that you should get because you're around someone who keeps taking your credit. So you'll never get the credit you deserve because you're around someone who won't allow that to happen because they're trying to keep you in your place. That's why leaders. So if you want to, why would a leader do that? Well, that's why leaders do it. Abusive leaders don't give you credit because they don't want you to think you don't need them. They want you to think that you're only great, you're only excellent because you're attached to them. Not because anything God did in you or gifted you with, but no, you're around them. And that's why you are as good as you are. That's why you're as talented as you are. And so that's a lie they tell. It's from the pits of hell, right? It is not real, but they get you caught up in that cycle and you don't realize that you have those things regardless if you're around them or not. Not to say you can't learn from people, not to say you can't grow when you're in certain environments, but I'm just saying that that's not the only way for you to do it and be there, okay? And then the last thing that abusive leaders do is they don't have your best interests at heart. And what I mean by that is excellent leaders want you to be great even if that's not with them. And so even if you're in an organization and you realize, hey, I done got this second degree, I done learned these different things, I've been here a certain amount of time, I want to expand. I want to become a director of this. I want to become a manager. I want to run my own piece of a company. I want to start my own business. Excellent leadership looks like, that is amazing. What do you need from me so you can go be successful there? That's what excellent leadership looks like. Excellent leadership looks like, hey, here's a 3-month severance package. Hey, I want you to get on your feet and go be successful. Excellent leadership looks like, well, I'm so grateful for what you've done here with us, and if you need a letter of recommendation, what can I do? That's what excellent leaders do. Excellent leaders want what's best for you, even if that's not with them, because they realize that they are borrowing your talents and abilities, but they don't own them, right? And abusive leaders believe they own them. And so if you're not with them, they will not only wish you to fail, they will make things happen so that you do. They will call people and try to blackball you in industry. They will send email. Employers will call them like, hey, how were they here? And they'll say, they sucked. Even if you were amazing, they will try to make it seem that no one else wants you and you can only make it if you're with them. That's what abusive leaders do. They create this environment where you only exist in a successful way when you're in that environment with them. And so when you look at a lot of the allegations and things against Diddy, there's a lot of things that people said verbatim. He would tell people, hey, if you don't do this, you'll never work again in this town. If you don't do this, you'll never work again with these artists or with these kind of producers or with this label. I'll never let you make a song with this label if you don't do X, Y, and Z. That is not your best interest in mind. That leader is only thinking about that what benefits them, and what benefits them is having talented people that do whatever they say. Right? That benefits leaders. Bad leaders, abusive leaders benefit. Well, let me say this. All leaders benefit from working with talented people, but abusive leaders control that, and they're not looking out for the interests of the people that are talented, right? They're only looking out for their own interests and how you can benefit them. And so I think what Diddy is being alleged of doing, and some of this stuff is settled in the civil case. And so that stuff, once you settle, that is an admission of guilt as far as I'm concerned. And so I think what he's been alleged of doing and what he's been able to get away with for 30 years, right? We're talking about 3 decades of abusing power and leadership, I think it is, I feel for the people that followed him, especially those who not like followed his career, but like were a part of his organizations, that works for him, that were related to him, that were in a personal romantic relationship with. I feel bad for them because there is a lot of trauma that they have undergone because they've been abused for so long that I pray that they can recover from. For like even right now, when they raided his family's his house, his children were in handcuffs. They were detained while the Homeland Security raided his house, and he was in Bali. Like he was gone. He was in Bali, or maybe the Virgin Islands. I don't remember. He was either in Antigua or he was in Bali while they were raiding his personal home, while his kids are in handcuffs. And if you ever been in handcuffs, even if you don't go to jail, it is traumatizing, right? To be set down on a curb in handcuffs. Even like I said, even if you're not guilty, because I think they just detained them so they didn't interfere while they searched the home. That's traumatizing, and that's poor leadership, right? Excellent leaders were like, hey, I'm here, leave my people alone. Like, excellent leaders take more blame. He left so other people would have to deal with some of this stuff. And I just don't want any of you to be in that situation. We talk about leadership all the time, and up until this point, we've really been talking about what makes leaders excellent. But I want you to be able to also pinpoint, hey, I'm in a situation I shouldn't be in. This leader is abusing me, and I got to get out from under him. Because I want you to know you can be successful in other areas and other places with other people because there is something special in you. Okay? Yes, God creates leaders to help us along the way, but he doesn't create leaders to be the only way we can get help. Okay? And so 3 things, I'm going to run them back. The 3 ways that leaders abuse power. Like Diddy. Hey, no Diddy. We chilling on here, okay? 3 ways people abuse power. They control your time. They control credit. So they take more credit. They take less blame. And they don't have your best interests at heart. They're only looking out for themselves. So those are 3 things that you can look for in a leadership relationship that will tell you if you are in an abusive one. So I hope that for all my people that was like, check, get out, okay? Run away, run far away, okay? And for my people who's like, oh, I'm not in that situation, praise God, okay? Thank y'all for this episode. I hope y'all learned something. It was quick. I ran through it. But I wanted to just make sure I got that information out there because I don't want any of you to end up like some of these people who are suing some people, who have sue a leader, who lose 10, 20 years out of their life working with a leader, being abused by a leader. I want you all to be able to be successful and not have to be in any of these situations that could harm you. Okay, that's really what I want for you all, and I hope that you all get that from this episode. But as always, man, it's been an honor. It's been a privilege to be here before you today. You could be anywhere else. You could be watching anything else. I hear they got some really funny prank videos on TikTok, but you hanging out with me, and that warms my heart. It's Justin Strickland. I'm your host of The Ladder, your favorite leadership podcast. Shout out to Crew Excellent because I'm the favorite member. And until next time, peace.